Hey plant fam! Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jacqueline. This is part of my jungle. If you're not new here, thank you for coming back. I appreciate you for still being here. So today I have another reaction video. You guys enjoyed the last one, and that one was like filled with drama and tea and like I highly recommend checking it out if you love a reaction video as much as I do. If not, then this is not the video for you and you probably shouldn't have clicked on it, but I hope you do still watch the other ones that I make anyway. But I thought it would be fun to do another reaction video today to a channel that I'm sure a lot of you guys follow, that comes up in my homepage often. Oh, he actually just hit 100,000 subscribers. Nice. I don't know if I'm ever gonna know what that feels like, but it must be nice. And he is called Sheffield Made Plants. So today we're gonna be reacting to his video that came out a few weeks ago. I think I'm a little bit late. I meant to record this sooner. Okay, a month ago. That's fine. I'm not behind schedule. You're behind schedule. It is called 9 Plants I Hate That Everyone Else Loves. So you guys know I love a good hate video. I do them all the time, talking about all the plants that I don't hate, all the plants that I'm never going to buy again. And I just thought it would be fun to hear from somebody else and see if I agree or disagree, or if we agree or disagree with his list. So I'm excited to get into this video. I got my big old headphones here. Can't hear you anymore, so there's that. And I'm gonna pull up this video and we're gonna watch it together. It's just under 10 minutes, so this shouldn't take long. Let's do it.
These are 9 houseplants that I hate that everyone else seems to love. These plants are either not worth the trouble, are overpriced, or just plain boring. The first plant on my list will probably come as a shock to most of you, particularly those of you that watched my recent plant unboxing video where this plant was part of the package, and it's the Philodendron Varicosum. Don't get me wrong, I think this plant looks absolutely stunning when in full health, with a beautiful colour and pattern on the leaves, with those distinctive hairy stems that look like your granddad's legs. The problem is though that getting this plant to remain in full health is an almighty challenge. At least for me anyway. Pretty much all the leaves on this plant have gone crispy and brown since I received it, even though I think I'm looking after it correctly. I have it near my east-facing dining room window. I check the moisture in the soil regularly, and I water with dechlorinated water, and yet the leaves continue to turn crispy. What's also really annoying is the new leaves that are getting stuck as they unfurl, ripping themselves in the process. So I'm not getting new leaves to replace the damaged ones. And the leaves are also highly sensitive to the light, with the leaves turning to face the light, turning away from the room, so you don't even get to enjoy them. And this plant isn't cheap either. It's fairly rare and highly sought after, so growers are able to charge a higher fee than your other bog standard philodendrons. If you do have tips to stop this plant going crispy, then please leave it below.
I do. So I actually hate the Varicosum as well. I wouldn't say I hate it because it's a beautiful plant, but I have the same problems with this plant. And the one piece of advice that I would give him, and one that I did in the comment section, was that they need that high humidity. They don't want to be in direct light, and they need that high humidity or their leaves are going to unfurl stupid. You guys know how much I hate it when philodendron leaves get stuck and stupid. So some of them just need high humidity and others don't. This is a very sensitive, thin, like almost velvety leaf philodendron, and anytime you have a leaf like that, it's usually going to be more finicky of a plant, unfortunately. And mine is just completely gone. I got a cutting though for like 30 bucks, so they're not that expensive if you want to try it out. And they do grow really quickly, like it's a fast growing philodendron, but he's not wrong about all the things he said about the plant just being ugly. So if you don't have like a greenhouse or a cabinet, like this plant just isn't going to look good in your space unless you live in a really humid place that's just hot and humid all the time, because that is the environment that it needs. I don't think it matters what kind of water you give it, to be completely honest with you, because it's still getting brown and crispy even with the filtered water. So it's a humidity issue, and they're so prone to spider mites. It's terrible. But so I do agree with number 1 on the list. Let me know if you guys agree. Do you have a Varicosum? Do you have the same issues with it? And yeah, let's look at the second one.
Long-time viewers of this channel will know that my major bugbear in life is browning leaves on houseplants. It's my mission to have a house full of plants that are free of this annoying trait. Wishful thinking, I know. And this next plant suffers this the most. What is it? The Transcantia Nanok. In full health, this plant is absolutely stunning.
Terrible.
And probably in my top 5 favourite houseplants. Just look at the colours and pattern on the leaves. It's so vibrant. That's why it's so popular. The problem is, though, that this plant's mission is to turn brown as soon as we get it home. Like it's a kamikaze pilot or something. I've just not been able to master the health of the Transcantia Nanok, and I've tried lots of things. I know it's highly sensitive to water and humidity, but I've not been able to work out if it's a lack of humidity or too much humidity that does the damage. I've nestled this plant among my collection to give it increased ambient humidity from its friends.
That might as well be my plant.
It turned brown. I've tried keeping it away from other plants, but it turned brown. I've tried changing the water and keeping it consistently moist, but this didn't work either. I'm slowly coming to the conclusion that this plant is just not meant to live indoors, even though it's such a popular one. Sadly, I've given up on owning one.
Not an indoor plant. So, yeah, obviously I'm gonna agree. Like, you guys know that I hate Transcantia, and it's not, like I said, it's not because they're not beautiful. The Nanok especially is absolutely stunning. Love, like, the bubblegum colors on it. That's why I had a few, and I kept trying to keep it alive, but I kept having to cut it and propagate it, and the leaves were browning, and it was just a real pain in the butt to get it to stay looking nice. And something I learned about Transcantia recently that just like clicked and made it all make sense in my head is that it's actually a crawling plant, not a trailing plant, and it is most commonly used as like ground cover, and it'll grow like a weed if you just like let it loose in your garden. So maybe don't do that. But I do think that they make really nice like outdoor baskets, but apparently they're crawlers, and that is why they always look absolutely terrible when you have them in a hanging planter and you're constantly having to cut them. So like, if that's something that you're into, like, you do you, boo boo. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you that I don't like it. And apparently I'm not alone in this. So definitely agree with number 2. And let's see what number 3 is.
This next plant is probably the most stressful plant I'm going to talk about in this video, unless you're Christian from the Crazy Plant Guys channel. The very popular string of hearts always looks like a tangled mess in my home. And what happens when you try to untangle the stems? They break. So frustrating. I know I must be OCD or something, because I just can't stand it when the stems of this plant get all tangled and clumped together into a messy mat. How do you get this plant to grow evenly around the pot like Christians and not hanging on one side in a tangled mess like mine? It probably takes a hell of a lot of bright light and lots of turning the pot around to face the light. And for me, life's just too short. The confusing thing about this plant is that it's actually a semi-succulent. It doesn't like to have wet soil. Give this plant too much water and it will lose leaves aplenty. This confuses me because it's such a delicate plant with hair-like stems and thin leaves, and my urge is to water the plant regularly. I know though that this will be the death of the plant. I watched Lee's video on how to get something like Christian's plant, and my overriding takeaway from that video was that I just could not be bothered. The string of hearts is so popular, like most of string of somethings are, but I find most of them to be really annoying. Do check out Lee's video after this, it's very funny.
Okay, so this is a really common one that I get asked by you guys, like, how do I keep this string of hearts alive? What am I doing wrong? So I have a whole entire care video that I can link up here for you, wherever it shows up, I forget. And it's an oldie but a goodie, talking about how to make sure that all of your string of plants don't start going bare. They'll go bare at the top. And like what he was saying, when you untangle them, the leaves just pop off. They get stuck in each other. It's a real pain in the butt. I straight up gave mine like a whole entire haircut and just detangled, gave her a trim. They get really unruly, but the key to keeping them looking good is he was close. It's not necessarily bright light, but they need that top down light. So conspiracy theory alert. What's his name? Christian, the plant guy with the string of hearts, he used to make YouTube videos. He doesn't anymore, but I'm pretty sure that he just replaces that plant all the time, because I have no idea how it looks like that in the interior of his home. I have a hard time believing that that plant gets the top down light and like the all around light that it needs to be that full and that lush. So unpopular opinion, but I call BS on it. I think that he's just like buying new ones all the time and replacing it so that nobody knows. Nobody will know. They're not gonna know. They might know. They might find out. I'm just saying. Obviously I'm joking, but yeah, I don't know, because mine, even though they're perfectly happy, like they're healthy, they still get straggly. So I don't know. And the watering thing is for sure a thing. You don't want to overwater these. A lot of people say bottom water them. I top water mine and I don't have a problem, but I also only water them like every other week, maybe. I don't know. I don't really keep track of my watering schedule. I'm just like, oh, you haven't had any water in a while, so here you go. I water it with the rest of my plants. I don't really think all that deep about it, but let's see what number 4 is on his list.
The next plant was on my plant wish list for the longest time, and I finally got one last year from Dobby's at a juicy discount too. It's a very popular plant that I'm unfortunately slowly falling out of love with. When I first got it, I was loving it. It looked super healthy with 3 gorgeous black velvety leaves, but sadly over time it's kind of deteriorated. Yes, it's the Alocasia black velvet. Alocasias are honestly a pain in the backside anyway. Mainly because they tend to go dormant in the winter, so they look ugly for half the year. And who wants that? Really. Don't get me wrong, during spring and summer, alocasias are gorgeous. They're highly unusual with almost alien-like leaves, but it's so annoying when they go dormant in the winter. And then what? We're supposed to live with an ugly plant for 3 months, stressing about whether it's going to rise like a phoenix in the spring. I don't need this kind of stress in my life. I've got 2 kids I'm constantly worrying about. And what's with one leaf dying as soon as another one comes through thing? Don't get me started.
I don't know. Yeah, so alocasias, that's a thing, right? You guys know how much I struggle with alocasias and keeping them happy. So I definitely agree with this. It's a beautiful plant. From what I've learned, they need better drainage and less light than what I was giving them, and they would thrive. I had a black velvet that was absolutely gorgeous for a really long time until, I don't know, it got neglected, probably in the move or something, to be honest with you. And it just, I don't know, I fell out of love with Alocasia too, because they're just really finicky. I know a lot of people find them really easy, and that's fine. You do you, boo-boo. I mean, I can keep calatheas alive and begonias and all that stuff, but I cannot figure out Alocasia, and I'm trying new things this year for sure to see if I can get them to live for more than 6 months and have more than 1 leaf at a time. I do want to note though that the dormancy thing is not really a thing if you're keeping your plants inside. Your inside temperature shouldn't be the same as your outside temperature. So your plants shouldn't be going dormant in the winter. There's no reason for that. at all. So your alocasias, if they're still warm and getting enough light, they shouldn't be going dormant in the winter. If they do, I don't know, put them in a warmer spot in your home in the winter, pull them away from windows, stuff like that, and just make sure that the temperature is staying consistent and they don't know what season it is because they're plants. Okay, next, what's number 5? Number 5 on the list. Let's see what he says.
What's the ugly younger brother of the Monstera deliciosa?
Oh.
Yes, the next plant on my sin list, the Monstera Adamsiana. In theory, this plant should be a champ. I mean, who doesn't want a mini Monstera in their home with ready-made perforations in the leaves? I know I did, and that's why it was on my wish list for so long, and why I was so happy when I eventually got one from a local nursery. The problem is, though, that this fella is a right diva. Let me know in the comments if your Adamsiana is suffering from yellow or brown leaves.
Ooh.
Mine certainly is.
No.
Sadly, it doesn't take long for this plant
That's
to
not
look
normal.
straggly with disease-looking leaves. Unless you give it tons of bright, indirect light, the stems will also start to stretch out, so you have a plant with leggy stems with large gaps between the leaves. And don't ever get direct sun rays on this fella. He burns like a Sheffield in the Sahara sun without any lotion. Not pretty.
Okay. I have a lot to say about this one. So you guys know that I love Monstera Adamsiana. It's one of my favorite plants, even though I don't even have one in my collection. And one of the reasons why I don't have it in my collection is some of the reasons why he actually said, but I do want to clarify and like maybe correct a thing that he said. First of all, those brown spots aren't normal. That's not normal. That looks like thrip damage, actually. That's what my Adamsiana looked like when it had thrips. They shouldn't look like that. That's not normal for the leaves to go brown in certain spots like that. If you do see that happening, flip the leaf over and look closely. You'll probably see little teeny tiny black dots on the area of the leaf where it's turned brown, and those are thrips. So that's a red flag. That looked like thrip damage to me and not just like the plant being fussy. If you have a plant that's being super fussy and you can't figure out why, it probably is a pest problem, and I definitely recommend covering all your bases and doing whatever treatment you normally do for that. And then he also said if you don't give it enough light that it'll get really straggly, and it's not necessarily a light thing that's going to make the plant straggly. It's more of, this is a climbing plant. It's an epiphytic plant, which means it grows on other plants and it's not parasitic, so it doesn't harm the plant that it's growing on. So because Monstera are usually epiphytes, did I put my elbow away? Oh, it's in the bathroom. I was just filming with it so that I could show you the way that they need to grow up a pole. So if you don't train your Monstera Adamsiana to go up a pole, as it trails, the leaves are going to get smaller and smaller because it's trailing. So the only way to get those big mature leaves on an Adamsiana is to give it a pole to climb, and the leaves will continue to get bigger as it goes. If you want to skip a few steps, just get a Monstera Esqueleto. It already has massive leaves and it looks identical to the Adamsiana, and it is a very easy care plant in my opinion. So yeah, I'm gonna disagree on this one. I get that it grows stupid and you have to propagate it a lot. That's something that I don't love about it, and is why I don't have it as a trailing plant. It is definitely one that you want to put up on a pole. It doesn't look good as a trailing plant over time. So you'd have to constantly be cutting it to get it to stay just looking bushy and full, but it's never really gonna trail and have that fullness that we really want it to have. I mean, some of them might. I'm not saying never, but it's just, in my experience, like it doesn't happen. So keep that in mind. If you're seeing brown spots like that on your leaves, that didn't look like sunburn to me. That looked like damage, thrip damage. Thrips love. I love. Monstera Adamsiana. They're very attracted to that plant. They took mine out in like a day before I could even treat it. So, yeah, I'm gonna disagree with this one, but that's okay. That's the fun of the video. Let's see what the next one on his list is. We're getting there. We're on number
One of my
6.
fondest childhood
Number
memories
6
is having a Venus flytrap in the house and watching it in action as I continuously fed it flies until it became obese. Actually sounds pretty morbid now that I reflect on it. This is another plant that lots of people love, and you always see them in the shop, so people are clearly still buying them in their droves.
Yeah.
But it's another one that I'm hating on. It's all to do with its dormancy period in the winter, much like the Alocasia black velvet I talked about earlier. This plant has hands down the ugliest dormancy period of them all. If Cinderella's stepmother asked the magic mirror what the prettiest plant in all the land was, it most certainly wouldn't say the Venus flytrap. Seriously, look at the state of mine. It looks dead. But no, this is the natural growth pattern of this plant. And to get the best out of it, it needs to have a rest period of at least 3 months every year. I mean, what a diva. And during that time, we have to live with an ugly looking plant.
Yeah.
Not a fan, no matter how fun it is when alive and kicking.
So, look, I struggle with these just because they're bog plants, the Venus flytrap, and any like Nepenthes and like any carnivorous plant is usually a bog plant from what I know anyway. So they grow in like really wet areas and they like to stay pretty wet, but they don't like chlorine, so you got to be careful to make sure you're using dechlorinated water. They're a pain in the butt. And again, I don't really buy into the dormancy thing. If you're keeping your plants outside, sure, but your plant indoors shouldn't know the difference between the seasons if you're keeping a proper environment for your plants. Like obviously if you just have a pothos in the window, it's whatever, but there's a lot of plants that are going to be a little bit more picky than that, and they're going to want to stay at a consistent temperature all year round. So if you want to avoid the winter dormancy with your plants, then that is definitely the way to go. So yeah, I like agree and disagree with this one because they are just really finicky and really annoying, but with the right care and the right like humidity and all that jazz, they're fine. I think they make really nice terrarium plants, but then they're not really eating the bugs. I've also heard that you're not supposed to give them live bugs if you feed them bugs, but I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what the next one is.
All of the plants on my list so far were ones that I think look nice but are hard to look after and end up looking rubbish. But not for this plant though. I'm sorry, but I just think the Dracaena is an incredibly boring plant.
That's good.
I do know this plant is super popular. I see them all the time in pretty much every plant shop out there, but I never ever give it a second look. I always walk straight past them. I'm not really sure why I have such a hate for this plant.
That one looks bad.
You'll notice that there are no care guides for this plant on this channel, even though I know it would probably get me lots of views, but I will find it boring to talk about it for 10 minutes because I find the plant so uninteresting. And I know I've probably lost a couple of subscribers revealing my dirty secret, but hey ho. There are lots of varieties and some do look more interesting than others, but even the variegated ones don't really tickle my fancy.
Fair. Okay. So I appreciate the honesty on that one. I disagree. I do understand that they're pretty boring. They're pretty generic, but there are some varieties that I think are really pretty. And Dracaena are interesting because they're so easy to care for. Like you really can't kill these things. So there are some that I think make really nice, just like floor plants for a space if you're just looking to fill a space and give yourself that tropical vibe. So, I mean, hey, it's okay to have preferences. We're all allowed to like different things. There are some plants that I don't find attractive that other people do, like croton. For some godforsaken reason, people like that plant. It is hideous. So yeah, we can appreciate some honesty around here. Let's see what number 8 is.
The world and its dog seem to love a variegated Monstera albo. So much so that cuttings of these plants have sold for hundreds of dollars on Etsy and Facebook Marketplace. Not me though. I've not been sucked into spending half my monthly salary on a cutting of a plant. Let me know which side of the fence you sit on. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I just don't see the appeal of spending so much money on these plants. Don't get me wrong, I think they look great, but definitely not great enough to spend 10x compared to a classic non-variegated Monstera. Imagine spending so much money on a non-rooted cutting from Etsy and then watch it fail to take root and eventually die. That must be so upsetting and something I'm not willing to risk. There is so much choice of fantastic, affordable houseplants out there, even variegated, so I don't feel the need to spend so much money on a single plant. Not when I can fill out my entire living room for the same cost.
No. Take it back. You can take it back. I get it, because you don't have one. So you don't understand, okay? First of all, you shouldn't be paying $400 or $500 for a cutting on Etsy. You're getting scammed. That's insanity. You can get one for like $50 and it doesn't have to be unrooted. Don't buy an unrooted cutting. Just buy one that's already rooted or buy a whole plant. And my thing is, if you spend like $200 on like a really massive, beautiful Monstera elbow, you can chop it up and make your money back and still have the plant. So to me, it just sounds like you don't want it. Like you just don't want it, and that's okay, but don't hate on it like as if it's this crazy expensive plant. I literally just talked about it in my last video that I did. I don't know when you're gonna see this one, but I just filmed a video talking about all of the like rare or more expensive plants that I think are totally worth it and totally worth the hype and worth your money, and that is the top of my list. It is such an easy care philodendron. It is such an easy care Monstera. You cannot compare it to the green one. The green one is like the ugly sister next to the Monstera elbow. Like even next to the Tycon, the elbow is my favorite. Like it's literally my favorite plant. So yes, that is a very unpopular opinion. I don't know anybody that doesn't love the Monstera elbow to the point where it's almost like it's cliche to say that it's my favorite plant. But until I had it in my collection and realized how beautiful and how consistent and stable that plant is, it's so healthy and so resilient to everything too. Like it's just such a hardy, gorgeous plant. This variegation is super stable and consistent on it. Like you can't go wrong with a Monstera elbow, and the prices have come so way down on them that you should not be spending half of your monthly salary on a cutting because you're getting scammed or you only make $200 a month. And I'm not judging you, but then maybe you shouldn't buy an expensive plant. But yeah, you could fill your home with pothos all day long. And a marble queen is also one of my favorites. I don't know how you compare a Monstera elbow to a marble queen unless you've got it growing up a pole and it's fenestrated and got huge leaves. It's just not the same. It's not the same thing. It's not. You have the audacity to compare it to a variegated Schefflera tree, and I'm offended. So see what the last one is. Hopefully it gets better.
Peace lily has got to be one of the top 5 most popular houseplants in the world.
Well,
you see this plant in pretty much every shop you go in that sells plants, either as smaller, younger varieties or larger, older specimens. Folks are sucked into the beautiful white flowers on display when in the shops, just as I once was. Take it home and you're soon disappointed that the flowers die off and are not followed by a fresh set of blooms. This disappointment continues until you realise they hardly ever bloom indoors without being fed a specific hormone to make it bloom.
Okay, so peace lilies, right? I'd say that the reason why they're annoying is more so that they're a lot thirstier than people will tell you. They're sold as like really easygoing plants, and I get more messages from people that aren't even plant people. They just bought a peace lily because they wanted a plant in their living room, and they're like, why does this thing hate me? Like, what's wrong with it? They need a lot of water, and I don't want them to bloom inside, to be honest with you. I think their blooms are really boring and really ugly, and the pollen, the white stuff that comes off of them, is super toxic, especially to animals. So any peace lily bloom or like anthurium bloom, things along those lines that happen in this home immediately get cut and thrown in the trash. I only have a variegated peace lily. I think it's called the Jessica, if I'm not mistaken. And it's gorgeous. Absolutely love it. I think peace lilies are really pretty, simple plants to have. They just are a lot thirstier than people let on. So, yeah, that's it for this list. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. I think I agreed with majority of it. I'm just still trying to process the fact that this man does not like my favorite plant. 2 of my favorite plants. How? I totally understand the Alocasia thing, the Transcantia thing, the string of hearts thing. Like, these are, even the Varicosum, those are like more difficult plants in my opinion. But the Albo? Girl, the Albo is the easiest plant in my collection. I love it, not just because it's beautiful, but because it is so easy to take care of. So I can get rid of these so I can stop yelling. And that is it for this video, fam. I hope that you enjoyed hanging out with us. Definitely go and check out his channel, show some love over there as well. And if you enjoyed hanging out with me and you like these reaction videos, you should definitely give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything, like when I go live. And there is a join button if you want to be part of the official plant fam and come on over and get some perks and support my channel at the same time. I appreciate all of my members so very much. And if not, there's a super thanks button if you want to super thanks me. Everything is appreciated. I literally cannot do this without you guys. I love you so very much. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.